Okay, so we're going to be working with two colors, blue and yellow, plus black and white. And basically the entire Starry Night drawing can be created with just these two colors plus black and white. Now, when you get started on your real projects, you're going to be able to choose different colors, and we'll talk about how to choose a color scheme later on in class. So let me start by just demonstrating to you a little bit how they work. So if you put some down, and you can do this along with me, you'll notice that they're really soft and that they blend really easily like that. A lot easier than the oil pastel. They do get messy, but you want to be careful not to intentionally make a mess. By the end of this drawing, my fingertips will probably be messy on my right hand, but that should be about it if I'm doing it right. So, okay, when you start drawing, the trick to creating a Starry Night-like drawing is, number one, to create lots of movement with the chalk pastels. Now, when you're using both colors, because you'll notice Van Gogh uses blue and white and black and yellow, but what do you think is going to happen if you put yellow and I go and put this on top of the blue? Why don't you try it out on your papers while I try it and let's see what happens. Okay, we have now mixed ourselves a green. Starry Night does not have green in it. So the trick to making sure this green does not happen, because that's not what we want, is to place the colors, the yellow and blue. They can touch, but they can't go, you don't want to layer them over top of each other. You want to just put them right next to each other, like so. And see, then I have this nice yellow and the blue, but I don't get that weird green color that I'm getting over here. Now, how do black and white come in? I can layer the black and white over top of these to create different variations in color. So let's say I want like more of a light blue. I'm going to put that white over top and look at what happens. See how that changes the color of that blue? So why don't you go ahead and try that as I'm trying that. Try to put some blue and whites together and see how that changes the color that you're getting. Okay. Now, you might notice I'm starting to get, I don't know if it's picking up on the camera, but I'm starting to get some little crumblies here. Now, I'm just going to show you what happens. If I get sloppy and I go in and I start doing that, A, that's how you get to be a huge mess, and B, I've now lost that really nice look I had in my drawing because it's going to be all smudged together, which is not what I'm going for here. So, there's a couple ways you can get rid of those I don't know what to call them, little crumblies that you're going to get on your drawing. I would take it, and on the side of your desk, you're just going to tap it off on the side. So I'm holding it up like this, and I'm tapping the paper. But I'm never going to smudge it with my hand, or else your whole drawing will be ruined in no time. So whatever you do, make sure you're not smudging, but you're trying your best to keep your hands as clean as possible. So, how the black comes in, I'm going to show you how this might work too. If you notice in Starry Night, you can see where it's just kind of like little pieces of black. So I'm going to just very gently place this in. And that will start to create really the look that I'm going for, to create something that looks a lot like Starry Night. So now that I've given you a little bit of how to use the chalk pastels, let's dive in and let's see how it goes on the real drawing. So I'm going to transition over. Now, for Starry Night, for mine, I am going to choose, you'll have the choice with how much of this you want to do. I don't want to do this black cypress tree. What I think I'm going to do is just the hills, and I'm going to do the sky. So I'm not going to do the town below either. I'm just going to do the hills and the sky. So I'm going to grab a pencil. The pencil part is going to be very similar to what we did on the oil pastel project. There's hardly going to be anything that you are hand drawing in, and if you'll notice, I'm drawing very lightly. Is that picking up on the camera? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm drawing it very lightly. I'm just going to bring that hill all the way over. Okay. And that's going to be all, I might draw a little bit more. That's all the, I take that back. Okay. I'm going to hand draw that moon in. I'm going to draw some of where I want my stars to go. And then I'm just going to get the gist of that swirl so that I can easily recreate that with the chalk pastels. Okay, so this is all the drawing I'm going to do with pencils. I'm going to set that to the side. Now I'm going to show you how to start. So for today, just go ahead and draw in a little bit with pencil. Maybe for today, just draw the moon in and a couple stars and the swirl. Maybe consider the whole thing for your drawing. So take your chalk pastels and start creating some lines. Now you're going to want the lines to have movement. You don't want them going straight across. You don't want them going up and down. You want them flowing like Van Gogh's sky does. It really has that, what makes it so beautiful is that movement that he's created. So really work on making sure you're not doing any flat or straight lines, but really creating a nice wave, almost like water or something. So put a little bit of blue down. Now I'm going to have to be careful not to put any white or any yellow on top of that blue, like we talked about, or else I'm going to get a green. So I'm going to just come in with just a little bit of this. I'm going to do an area where there's not going to be much yellow. So that's about all the yellow I'm going to do. Then I'm going to come in next with this white. Okay, now I can't stop there. A lot of times we want to stop right here. But you can still see the white specks of the paper showing through. So just like any other art project, we don't want to be able to see the white of the paper. So that's why I'm going to take this white next, and even though I'm putting white on white, it'll make a more of a light blue. I'm going to start to blend that out so I don't see the white of my paper. Now that I start doing that, you can also blow on it real quick, and that'll send them to the side too. Just make sure you don't blow your pastel onto a neighbor's, because that's not going to make them happy. So take some blue, and I'm going to just make that a little bit brighter. So I hope you're practicing this technique, this little area right along with me in your sketchbooks. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just trying to get a feel for how they're going to work together and making sure we're not accidentally mixing any green, because we don't want that. So I'm being very careful to go around that yellow. Now I'm going to take a little bit of black and just barely, because remember, black is so strong. We don't want to go, if I go putting in lines, like, look what happens if I push down just like kind of hard. I mean, that's a solid line. What we don't want in our drawing is, that's not going to look good. We want it to be really nice and soft and feathered out. So I'm holding it with my fingertips, and I'm not really even pushing down. I'm just kind of dragging it across and letting it touch. So I'm just going to get a little tiny bit of black on there because I want it to be just a little bit darker. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how you can use your finger to blend. You don't want to do very much of it. I'm just going to barely. I would like that black a little bit more feathered out. I'm just going to take my finger and just barely blend it out. What I don't want to do is take my finger and do that, because then I'll lose all of that nice texture that I've created. So, go back over top. Okay. So, this would be like a great little starting section to my drawing. Now, if you notice one thing too, the way I'm holding my hands, okay? I'm not just like throwing my hands on my paper, or else that's how the smudgy mess happens. I'm keeping my wrist kind of resting on the edge of the table, keeping the pastel between my fingers, and my palm is not resting on the paper. If I rest that palm on the paper, it's gonna get a mess. So my palm is up. The only thing that's touching the paper at any time is the pastel. My fingers are never touching the paper unless I want them to be. So my hand's not on the paper, none of me is on the paper, just the pastel. So this is something else that's really important to consider, because I know a lot of you struggled a little bit with messiness on your oil pastel Georgia O'Keeffe drawings. And this will actually get even messier than the oil pastels did if you're touching the paper. As long as you're just lifting your hand and going up here, that's not going to happen to you. So I'm going to do a little bit more of a dark blue down here. Now I'm going to show you how to do the moon. Okay. This is another thing you have to be careful of. If you look, I don't know if you can see it, but there's green right there. So I'm going to take this scratch paper I have over here. Doesn't take much, see? It's all clean now. Go around the tip just a little bit more. Okay, perfect. All that green is off. It's a nice clean yellow. I'm going to do the same thing with my white. It has a little blue on there, so I want to get that off of there. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work to create. Now, because I love to use color, I'm going to take a little bit more of an orangey yellow, and I'm going to pop that in there too. You don't have to, but I think it'll add just a little bit more depth and color variety to your drawing if you do. Put that in there. And clean edge. So you can see I have a big pile of stuff there, so I'm just going to, and it's gone. Okay. Now I'm going to do the glow around it. So that's a lot of white. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some white down. Okay. Take my yellow, not my orange, just my yellow. I'm going to kind of lightly, in that circular motion, remember the movement is really important, because if we want it to look like Van Gogh, we want it to be very expressive in our line quality. So I am going around and around, really giving it a nice movement. Okay, that's going to bug me. I can see my pencil lines through there. So, and I was drawing really lightly and that still happened to me. So I'm going to go back in with my orange. Yep, I drew too dark. So that tells you have to draw even lighter than I was, and I was drawing pretty lightly. Because, I mean, it's not terrible, but that's still, you know, we don't want our pencil lines to show. So it's very, very important on your real drawing that you don't do very much pencil work. Okay, now the last thing I'm going to show you is how to finish up this using some blue. So if you notice on the Starry Night, it's got a little tiny bit of blue in there. So, to be careful. It's very hard not to get green here, so I'm just going to barely push, just put a little bit of color. It's a little hard sometimes to blend all your waves together, because you can see this is starting to get into this wave. This is going to be coming around here. I'm trying to, okay, work, okay. So while we're doing this, why don't you go ahead and practice the moon. So really before we start the real project, I want you to think about your colors, what colors you want to use, but go ahead and practice with the colors I'm doing just for starters. And then I want you to at least practice the moon, because I think that that's a little bit of a challenge, and it can give you a lot of really good practice into how to use these chalk pastels. So again, remember my hand, it's not near my paper. It's on the pastel, but my hand is up off the paper, like good distance off the paper. So that is super important. Your hand might even get tired after a while. My arm's getting a little tired, but it's okay. Okay. Now I have to feather this yellow out into here. So, oop. Almost got green. It started. Be very careful. Okay. So you would kind of see how I would just continue here. Add in a little bit of black. Okay, so there is your chalk pastel tutorial. This is Flynn. Isn't he cute? He wanted to meet everybody. Say hi! Say hi, everybody. I'm Flynn. Yes, this is Flynn. He loves art. He does not have an art name, though. He's named after... What is he named after? Oh yeah, Flynn Rider off of Tangled. Okay, so yes, he's happy to meet you guys. Bye.